Alright, you read the title of this video. Colin Farrell's fatigue are real. If you don't know, Colin Farrell is an Irish actor who's been a career for the past 2 decades, since between 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. He made a popular Ghana film before the Ghana breakthrough film role in of the late great Joe Schumacher film Tigerland, and then we team again in the photo booth. So there's both films are gone, respecting the critics, especially the performance of Colin Farrell, and I went to the films in between the 2000s, including Millennium Report, Daredevil, SWAT, and eventually Oliver Stone's Alexander, and then went to gone a lot of personal problems during production, including the doing filming of the Michael Mann's Miami Vice opposite Jimmy Fox, and then eventually the career is more like, and then he got through the problems lately, and they got a lot of media tabloids, and then eventually to make it way to independent films, including In Bruges was Martin McDougall was a film that alongside Brendan Gleeson and were movie would define the cinema and why her career. And then they continue making indie films, including The Imagination of the Dr. Pablonosis, which were digging into the late great Heath Ledger, yes, the Joker himself, um, as well as a couple of indie films and more like a kind of films, and including the remake of Total Recall in 2012. Because I mean, let's be honest. You see the recent the Running Man movie, Edgar Wright's The Running Man movie with Grant Brower. Yeah, it's going to be another remake without Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like this movie based on the Schwarzenegger classic films. First, Conan the Barbarian, then eventually, and then Total Recall, and now this. I'm not sure this movies don't doesn't make no sense. They're based around different kinds of sorts of that movie. Red Sonja. That's a count, but the recent movie, but even based on the movie that Arnold Schwarzenegger cameoed, but I digress. But still, that made no sense. But for me, this movie isn't. But I think this movie is going to be good if now got a lot of problems. Even Schwarzenegger got pressed to do a role, and like doing the since it worked in the underrated mediocre the Expendables 3, the PG-13. That's pretty good because of problem studios doesn't make no sense. Thanks, Lionsgate. Anyway, and then eventually continue with films until the recent Greek director I cannot pronounce, The Lobster, and as well as another film, and eventually in 2018 he has went to a lot of problems and better past after they gone received well in indie films, and then gone cleaned, and then went to the comeback performance in the Guy Ritchie's The Gentleman, and then they continue making movies with gone a lot of tension between these, the Banshee and the Iron and 13 Lies was a reteam of the director Martin McDonough. Ron Howard's 13 Lions, along with the fellow actors like Regan Morganson and Joe Egerton, and it leads us to the biggest role the biggest role her career was the Batman, playing Oswald as Cobb, the Pigment. And it leads us to, and it got a lot of great reviews and supporting acts, and it leads us to so well, they made a limited series on HBO and HBO Max about the Pigment. So you got a lot of attention, mostly of the award season, except for the Emmys, because Connor Fell didn't was lost to Stephen Grant in All Innocentness for Netflix limited series. So I not that doesn't count. But I think the thing is, I love that thing. But Connor Farrell's career was pretty much the highs and lows for the past decade. Like I describe as the Irish Ben Affleck. He had the career Hollywood making careers between blockbusters and mostly in the indie stuff between mid 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. He had a personal problems. He got a lot of lately and got cleaned and all that stuff. So I would, yeah, this is why I know. But I would never back in the day. Colin Farrell's career was pretty much I know him. Back in I first seen in the live actions Dumbo remake for Disney and directed by Tim Burton. This I saw that, and then and we were playing as a Holt Farland. Yeah, alongside the core stars Danny DeVito, and Mikey Keaton and Eva Green. And the latter was known from the general audience that the playing as in Bond girl in the Casino Royale was a kickstarting of the rebooting James Bond and the Daniel Craig's Bond era. So that's good. And I know him. I know that her this person. Colin Farrell was pretty much the defined performance after like long personal problems and now doing the production, and then he'd fine, and I loved it. And I think that the performance was so bar. He like unlike Tom Hanks' performance in Elvis, this not even like oh that's but between like Mikey Keaton's performance, but I would just say this is like that's a different actor. But I think Colin Farrell is pretty much to say because this movies came out the same time as another Disney live action remakes like um yeah John Favreau's the Lion King movie, live action remake, and then and Guy Ritchie's Aladdin live action remake. So that made no sense. I'm not sure that, and even though I'm gonna mention, there's a one part in the movie when Michael Buffer in cameo as himself. Well, mostly it is set in the mid in the 30s, like in the Dumbo Circus village. That he doing the variation of a catchphrase. Let's get ready for Dumbo, and like what the heck? I don't know. I don't know who write this movie. Yeah, the writer was who did co-wrote the recent Michael Bay Transformers movies. The two, three one the all three ones, and like that's bullcrap. I who write this movie. I'm not even sure that the recent Michael Bay Transformers movie that made no sense. I mean, I'm not even sure who then went to write the Disney movie, but include your pop culture reference that related to the more Disney familiar audience. Like, Let's Get Ready for Dumbo was pretty much a pop culture reference. What's next? The I'm gonna go Yippee Mr. Dumbo. That made no sense. Yeah, I know that the time. Yeah, I know this movie came out the same year that Disney bought 20th Century Fox, but that's what not care about. Even Bruce Willis would not cameo for no reason. Like they would that funny parody of Lethal Weapon movie with like Samuel Jackson scored also then. And then it actually did later co-star in the Pulp Fiction and Die Hard with a Vengeance. But who knows? Anyway, but I don't know. I not got a mediocre review, but I saw that in like back in 2019. Like that's good. But and I even mentioned that Ritchie one. Well, he's the next film with a defined performance that either in the Guy Ritchie's A Gentleman movie, because this might be the best performance. And like, holy crap, this is what I describe as this is why um, Colin Farrell did what Guy Ritchie for what Guy Ritchie did what John Travolta did with Quentin Tarantino for Pulp Fiction. This he defined the performance, and I think this is he playing as coach, and he liked it, and I think this I really love that movie. It is one of my personal favorites, and I think Guy Ritchie made a film, British gangster film that probably appeared to the Ghana audience. Like basically, like if you imagine watching like Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, but now it's made a lot of early films like Lock, Stock and Barrel and Snatch, which pretty much described as hell yeah moment for Mr. Ricci. So I think Colin Farrell's comeback career, what did with John Travolta, and it worked. Oh, and a few years before, David Moore in the Substance movie, but this has become the one of the bright stars, and this is a comeback career. And I liked it, and I think the reason I respect Colin Farrell was a person. However, Colin Farrell's fatigue, yay, came back yet again with the recent two movies. One was released in theaters, and other was released on Netflix, which is a streaming service. The first one was uh, a big, bold, beautiful journey. Was an indie film. No, the mainstream film for director of the After Yang, who previously worked with Cordonada, who stars alongside further actress and the further superhero role as Harley Quinn herself, Margot Robbie. And another one was released on Netflix, was the director of the All Quiet on the Western Front and Concave, which is released on Netflix, was a bother of a small player. And I gotta say, these two movies are a lot of got mixed feelings. Yeah, the first film has begun a lot of terrible box office performance and gotten you received mixed reviews, but unfortunately it didn't work. And I think the last movie who worked with After Yang was a A24 film. It's a lot of attention. He got a good received well, and I think that and it's pretty much along with Jodie Turner Smith and that movie was also composed by the one Japanese composer who sadly passed away, rest in peace. But this is like a new era. Like I think Colin Farrell's doing the Colin Farrell's um, turning point career. Like it's pretty much the before the role in the Batman Matt Reeves one movie. But I think that the reason the big bold beautiful journey on the hand was pretty much disappointment. It's not as good as the last film After Yang, but in Magic we see well. It got a lot of best reviews from these two different actors, Colin and Margot, but it fell flat. It was a more like to say it's not. It was a mediocre film, and this movie came out at the same time as another movie called Him, was produced by Jodie Pierre. Was a this a sports like a horror type thriller movie, but unfortunately it not as good as. But even it's pretty core. Jodie Pierre was pretty much there. We messed with my horrors like Get Out, Us, and Nope, but Him was not Get him, us, and Nope. But yeah, and not even to compete with the Jodie Pierce director, but it fell flat. But both films have gone box office disappointment. But less than the next week's film releases got Paul Thomas Anderson newest film got received well because it stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn. So yeah, it was a fell flat. But I'm gonna go see on. Um, in the next 2 weeks because this movie start and I think this movie going to be released the same week as another movie called The Long Walk, was pretty Stephen King's adaptation movie. It stars Mark Hamill, was a great actor. You know he's a Luke Skywalker if you know. But yeah, it was a fell flat and it was not really good. And then another one was released on Netflix, came out the next month, October 29th, because in Halloween season, is A Ballad of a Small Player. Was a director by Edward Bergen, is Austrian and German director who known the last couple of films, including All Quiet on the Western Front and Concave. And this movie, I would describe as I have seen a trailer. I would describe as the Wes Anderson movie on steroids. Yeah, you heard me right. I'm not even a fan. Like the director saw a few Wes Anderson films, like the Grand Budapest Hotel, or even the recent movie. I'm not sure, but I and especially the one movie when Tiffany Chalamet is in it. So yeah, and not the Ballad of a Small Player was pretty much I describe it again was as a movie on steroids, but it received it released some of the film festival circuit, and that's not pretty good. And surprise, surprise, not it was not really good. It's got a lot of divisive reviews and like, oh, this movie's gone not as good as the last two movies, but this is not. They're not. I mean, I not even say this is going to be a disappointment. Like the Battle of Small Bears would go be a fun film. It's directed by the same director, Edward Bergen. But unfortunately, this movie is pretty much not so much. I mean, Netflix spent the money to do this in the between film festival circuit and release limited release in theaters. But this not between the last film, A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, and this movie is not common. It's like the directed by young up and coming filmmakers that will appeal to a kind of audience. Like I mentioned, Kodo Nada and Edward Bergen has a pretty much a film career has been for a lot. He's an independent. One is from the Born and Raised. He was known known making the videos on the video essays, and now ventured to video making the feature length film. And then there was a well known German, Swiss, and Austrian filmmaker who's been in Germany, who known a few German films and got breakthrough in the Netflix or war film, Quiet on the Western Front, and then the next film, Concave. But and I think the problem that career was pretty much got on the down here. Like it was a dog. It was a low point of these both film director career. So yeah, I hope the bottle of a small player was going to be a disaster on Netflix. Was on streaming next month, but as saying goes with the big bold beautiful journey was pretty much what I'd say. It was a disaster, but it got a letdown of the careers. But I think this is a wake up call to Mr. Farrell. I mean, after the after the limited series, Pegasus series on HBO in HBO Max that was based on the Batman universe, the Batman universe from Matt Reeves. Carfell was been mixed to got a lot of got mixed feelings in the recent movies between the Big Bold Beautiful Journey and the Bottle of a Smaller Blair was pretty much the. I want to mention that Wes Anderson's frequent collaborator Tilda Swinton was in this movie, in this Bottle of a Small Blair one. Yeah, I'm not sure. That I know the casting. I mean, like I said, the director saw a few Wes Anderson movies. That's making sense. But back to what I was saying. This is a little. This is a wake up call for Colin Farrell. He battled a bit. The recent movies was not so well between on theaters and on streaming, well Netflix. But I think her co-star of the A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, Margot Robbie, was gone on the next film with a Emma Ferrer's Wuthering Heights. Was going to be a received well, or we received none, or got mixed reception like they were in the last movie. But it might be, but Colin Farrell on the hand was gone. Um, I would describe as going more like a direction. Like I said, Colin Farrell's fatigue were different. Like I know Colin Farrell's fatigue was gone. The more to the ups and downs. Like the film career was making the stars in 2000s. And movies got a lot of hot attention, got attention with gone performance, but got to receive naked, got mixed reviews. Went to blood, and then they go making the aha indie and independent films later that year, later of 2000s and then 2010s, mostly between mixed TV blockbusters and independent films, and then it came back to the Get Rich Gentleman, and the rest of history, right? Well, I was pretty know the Colin Farrell's fatigue was pretty much real. Its movies got Nick got a mixed reception and got performance was gone so barred. Like it's not even look like say this careers were more like many other actors like Ben Affleck or Shia LaBeouf or even the one director Racing Sigler. He's pretty much mediocre. Yeah, I know he's a terrible actress, but you've seen these Disney's live action remake of Snow White was gone a lot of problems, but that's fine. You gotta receive appreciation of performance in the Romeo and Juliet. No, actually, Evita, because Like, let's be honest, Madonna would be proud of that. But still, I don't mention that Colin Farrell was Irish because he's an Irish actor, but I know tons of Irish actors we're familiar with, like the Gleason family, and Cillian Murphy, Michael Fassbender, Gabriel Byrne, and recent young actors including Liam Neeson too, and recent young actors like Paul Mercy and Barry Keoghan, or um, and sort of the female side had Saoirse Ronan and even Jessie Buckley, who he recently filmed along with the co-Irish star, or her fellow Irish actor Paul Mercy. And I really know they have from the course showy film. So well, I don't know. He's the director of the entire MCU Eternals movie. Is Hamnet. Hamnet. We got a lot of attention at the last movie. So I think that the Irish is a better place of the film career, not as good as UK, like Hugh Grant or um, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, and some others. But it did not even want like to say this is not as good an actor. But to me, Colin Farrell was more like the most greatest Irish actors we're familiar with. Like Cillian Murphy been in Christopher Nolan's movie, but Farrell did not. He made movies from the Irish director, like um, mostly for filmmakers, like the Greek director, some Guy Ritchie, Steve McQueen, um, and as well as the one movie, Michael Mann, Oliver Stone, and Steven Spielberg, and a lot of others. But it's not happening. I mean, the direct. I mean, I'm not even the other filmmakers are familiar with. But to me, I think that the auteur filmmaker would say mixed, and I think I say mixed because it's like when you're watching this movie, I want to know that the fatigue was not gone. A lot of problems of Colin Farrell's career. Like like I said, he's a Colin Farrell was an Irish Ben Affleck. He had a lot of problems in doing his career acting career, and now he's feeling good. He's doing feel better, but he's doing it like problems. But the recent outlets of these before the recent movies in 2025 that year was kind of mixed and good to things like between 2022 slate and 2020 and 2021 was pretty much not as good because it the terrible year of that because of reasons getting war to shut it down because but and then between except for the After Yang, it's not that more pretty much released in the on Showtime no less. But in 2022, these three movies define Colin Farrell's career, and I dig it, and I think it is pretty much the legacy of that. But the reason, but this year's movies with Carfell was pretty much got a lot of negative problems about their Carfell's performance between a big, bold, beautiful journey and the bother of a small player. So I think the fatigue are real, and I think that. And I like I said, this is I didn't need to wake up call for Carfell. He need to reprise. Then Matt Reeves is working on the script and need to reprise the role as the pregnant of the Batman 2 was coming in 2027. And as well, and Bobby reprised her role in the Bignet limited TV series on HBO and HBO Max. Who knows? But for me, as like Conor Farrell was pretty much thrown Irish actors like Neil Neeson, um, Gabriel Byrne, Cillian Murphy, and Chris Brosnan. Oh, I forgot to mention that person, and the recent young actors like Barry Keoghan and Cillian Murphy and Paul Macy. And as well as on a female side had the Gleason family too, and then a female side including Saoirse Ronan and Jessie Buckley. So if you're not like, you need to step down to, you need to step up for the Colin Farrell's career, and I hope you feel better in future. And it might be reprised in the background in the Batman 2 in 2027. You know what I'm talking about. So for me, if I hope to see what happens in the next couple of years. If Colin Farrell's career was going to be better, I hope it didn't got to receive well or got a lot of problems. Because the fatigue, Colin Farrell's fatigue is still real, and I think there was going to be better in this in the future. So we'll see what happens, Mr. Farrell, and hope it be better. If you know what, if you're familiar with that person in filmography and not career, it's a lot of problems. Really check out the rise and fall of Colin Farrell over on Joblo Originals YouTube channel. Was uploaded a few years ago. So go in the description below. So check it out, and and that's pretty much it. So please, I hope Colin Farrell's career will be better in the next couple of years, including the Batman 2. I will respect. So hope you enjoyed this video. What do you think about the recent Colin Farrell's films? A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, and Bald of a Small Player was not releasing yet. Let me know in the comments. And if you disagreed, I just pretty much do need to step up from Colin Farrell's career. So give it like this video, share your friends. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell. And I'll see you guys in my next video. And remember, keep watching on One Gaming. Oh, I mentioned the Batman rated style a few times, so I could be watching the record on yesterday. So happy Batman Day, everyone!